Hey, hi, hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jesse, and in today's reading vlog, I'm going to be reading 3 cozy mysteries that all take place during Halloween. I've realized recently that the subgenre cozy mystery is definitely something that I think I could see myself really enjoying, and I have 2 very specific reasons for this. One is that I recently read The Thursday Murder Club and thoroughly enjoyed it. I gave it a full-on 5 out of 5 stars. I'm honestly not sure if this book specifically would fall under cozy mystery, but to me it hit all the cozy spots. And 2, I've recently found myself falling in love with the show Murder, She Wrote. Like, I am obsessed. It's so silly at times, but it's also just all sorts of cozy. It's all sorts of heartwarming and charming, so those 2 things lead me to believe the fact that, like, the cozy mystery subgenre could be my all-time favorite new genre. New to me genre. Obviously, cozy mystery is not new. It's just new to me. I realize the fact that I have just gone through so many hyperfixations throughout this year, and they're literally all immortalized in these vlogs, so love that. If you don't know what cozy mystery is, let me be Google for you for a second. Cozy mystery is a subgenre of crime fiction. It's characterized by a lighthearted tone, small town setting, and an amateur sleuth. I literally just Googled, what is cozy mystery, copy and pasted it into my mind, and just spewed that out to you. So you're welcome. I am Google. Hear me roar. Since I've been wanting to explore more of this subgenre, and also because it's the Halloween season, the best season, don't you forget it, I decided to combine the 2 because I knew that there were a lot of cozy mysteries that had sort of a Halloween setting or a Halloween theme to them, so I picked up a few from the library, 3 to be exact. I'm going to be reading them and sharing my cozy mystery journey with you. The first book that I'm going to kick this reading vlog off with is Halloween Cupcake Murder. This is actually a short story collection. It contains 3 short stories from 3 different authors, and it all surrounds the theme of Halloween Cupcake Murder, in case the title wasn't clear. I'll be sure to give you guys details on each story as I dig into this, but I want to hear from you guys down below in the comments, specifically you cozy mystery experts, people who are familiar with the subgenre. I think I'm wanting to find a rather large cozy mystery series to stick to, which we know that I do not do series. I'm really bad at sticking to series, but I think it'd be really fun to just like have one cozy mystery series that I like go to whenever I'm in the mood for the genre. So let me know down below in the comments if you have a specific series that is rather long that you would recommend to me. I'm gonna get started on Halloween Cupcake Murder. I'm very interested to see what these stories have to offer. Let's get started. Reading update time. I've read the first 2 stories in Halloween Cupcake Murder. Let's talk about them. The first story is Halloween Cupcake Murder. I wonder how that author got their story title to be the title of the actual book. This one takes place in Ireland, and we follow Tara, who I believe has her like own murder mystery series. I think this is just like a little short story set in that world, but it wasn't like too hard to like understand what was happening. Basically, Tara owns a store, and she is looking to get some like Halloween decorations, so she's visiting all these like antique stores, these flea markets, and she ends up like sort of low-key witnessing the death of a shop owner. She had witnessed this guy delivering a cupcake to him, and he was masked and just like acting all weird, and then the next thing she knows, the store owner is dead, gone, deceased. When a cupcake gets delivered to her own home, she believes that she is the next target. There were just moments in this that had me rolling my eyes. As she's leaving the crime scene of the store owner who got murdered, she is very clearly on the detective's radar. Like, he feels some kind of way about her. He feels like sus about her, and she immediately leaves the crime scene and Googles poison that kills quickly. Why would you Google that after leaving a crime scene where a detective is already suspicious of you? Like, if you are to become a person of interest, they can see your Google search. Like, why would you do that? You've already got a target on your back, and I feel like it just got bigger. The element in this that I really enjoyed is that there's kind of like a bit of a secret society situation happening. Tara is sort of turned off by them when she first meets them, which I don't blame her, because they're like making jokes about the guy that died, essentially. Like, they're making it into this big joke, and Tara is like traumatized by this thing happening, and then she also got a cupcake delivered to her, so she feels like she's being targeted by the cupcake murderer. It just felt like a situation that you shouldn't be like ha-ha hee-heeing about. But once we move past that uncomfortableness, we are sort of able to delve into this really great mystery that I really enjoyed. I thought it was a really fun whodunit. I really enjoyed the writing style in this one, but at times the character decisions just made me really annoyed, and I think that overall brought my rating down quite a bit, so I landed on a 3 out of 5 stars for the first story. The second story, I was feeling a little bit hesitant going in because it is a Christmassy Halloween story. It's a mixture of the 2, so basically it takes place in in Christmas Town, and they are going all out this year for Halloween. And this year they're having like a candy corn bake-off of sorts, but things take a turn when somebody ends up dead. This one was just like a little bit silly, goofy, all over the place for me. I knew that going in that it probably just wasn't going to land with me because it just brings in too much in terms of like the eccentrics of things. It's just like a little bit on the nonsensical side of things, and I just like had a hard time buying into it. And I think that like that silliness sort of took away from the seriousness of the mystery. Like I just couldn't buy into the seriousness of the mystery because of all like the cheesiness that was happening. I think if you're somebody that can overlook stuff like that, you'll be on board with this. Overall though, I feel like this collection is pretty fun. It's a nice like sampler for these authors. I feel like I would be interested in checking out the author of the first story, whose name is like so big on the cover. I would be interested in checking out more by them. I think that theirs was like the most convincing to me, even though I was frustrated by some of the character decisions in that story. But overall, it's been really fun, and it's definitely putting me in the Halloween mood, which is what I wanted. A+. The last story seems to be tiny, so I'm gonna bang it out and report back in a little bit. Finished the last story, which is called A Triple Layer Halloween. I feel like in terms of like the Halloween cupcake murder as a concept, I don't think it really like fit in this collection necessarily. Like the way that the author made it fit was kind of silly to me. We have this millionaire bakery owner that ends up going missing, and his cat is named Cupcake. I think this one actually ended up being my favorite, and that's because it like brings in a supernatural element, which made me realize that I want to read a cozy mystery series that has a bit of a supernatural element to it. It doesn't have to be like a super full-on magical ride. If it just has like a subtle supernatural element involved, sign me up. If you guys have recommendations for me, you know where to holler. If you don't know where to holler, go down below to the comments and let me know a book recommendation that you have for me that involves a cozy mystery and a supernatural element of sorts. But basically, the main character in this is able to see visions, and so she uses that to her advantage in figuring out whodunit, who's behind this missing millionaire. I will say one thing that I didn't love about the last story is that it had a bit of repetitive writing involved in it, and that just kind of irritated me. Like, there was this line in particular that kept coming up where she essentially says something like, I have to find my inner Nancy Drew, or something like that, and it just like got to a point where it's like, girl, you've already said that twice. We don't need to say it anymore, okay? We understand. We get the Nancy Drew reference. I will say that the last story was in fact my favorite out of all of the stories. I am landing on a 3.5 out of 5-star ratings with the last story, but I think moving forward in this vlog, I want to read just novels. I don't want to read short story collections. I enjoyed this and it was a nice taste test situation, but I felt like I just wanted more from each and every story. So I think that that's why I'm going to like veer off into reading just novels moving forward in this vlog, which means I will have to pick out a different book because one of the other books that I checked out from the library is also a short story collection. So going to be ditching that one and picking out a substitute. Let's talk about my next read. And the next Halloween themed cozy mystery I'm going to be reading for this video, I'm super excited about. It's called Death of a Wicked Witch. In this cozy mystery, we follow this new food truck that has come to town, and everybody is like obsessed with the food truck because they only have one single food truck in the town and they are just excited about getting something new, something fresh. But when Trudy, the owner of the food truck, dies mysteriously during a Halloween party that she's catering, the suspicion immediately falls on the other owner of the other food truck. Things get even more confusing when Trudy, who is presumed to be dead, is seen running around, gallivanting around town. We follow Haley, who is committed to tracking down the murderer and just putting this case to bed. I'm really looking forward to this one because it's a full-fledged novel. It's not a short story, so this will really be my first true plunge into a cozy mystery, and I'm excited to see what it has to offer, see how I end up feeling about it. I love the concept of like a food truck mystery murder situation. I don't know if it's technically going to have like a supernatural element in it. I don't know if Trudy is going to have a ghost, if we're going to be following a ghosty situation, but like I would be down for that. I just like don't imagine that it's actually going to be having any sort of supernatural element. I'm sure that there's some sort of mystery behind this Trudy that's running around Trudy running around town. Whoa! Almost lost myself just then. But I'm eager to get in and see what happens, see how I feel. So without further ado, let's get to reading. Reading update time. I have made it to chapter 23, page 150, and I am using batteries as a bookmark because I went to get my oil change. This is all that I had to use as a bookmark, so little battery bookmark moment will do. I am really enjoying this. This is much more my speed, I think. I think I'm enjoying this a lot more than the short stories, which I'm excited about for obvious reasons, and the fact that like it's so much more fleshed out. Like I feel like I'm getting to know the town folk. I feel like I'm getting to know the town in general a lot better, and it has that sort of like small town feeling that I love, and I just feel like the story itself also just feels a lot more expanded. While I enjoyed the short stories and I thought that it was a good introduction into cozy mysteries, I think I much more prefer a full-fledged novel for cozy mysteries. I mean, I am still exploring how I feel about this genre as a whole, but I just feel like this is probably the way to go for me. I will say that I feel like this one really took its time to get to the actual murder mystery. I think it was like the 90-page mark before anything really happened, before the murder actually happened. And on that end, I kind of would have preferred the author to have like a yeehaw brother, let's get going moment. But I didn't mind it at the same time because we were getting fed all these different storylines and really kind of like shaping out the different characters and whatnot. And I'm appreciating that element about this book because I feel like I'm really getting to know a lot of the characters, specifically our main character and their partner. We see our main character, Haley, becoming friends with the food truck owner, Trudy, the one who ends up being murdered. But I do think that seeing that relationship develop is somewhat important because it makes sense as to why Haley sort of gets wrapped up in figuring out who done it. I will say, my favorite part of this book is when Trudy is found dead. Not when she's found dead. Like, I'm not happy that Trudy is dead. I thought she was delightful. I'm sad to see her go. But when they stumble across Trudy's body, which, by the way, Trudy dying is not a spoiler. It's literally in the description. But anyway, when they find Trudy's body, this guy goes, ding dong, the witch is dead. Tell me you had an impulsive thought without telling me you had an impulsive thought. I am wanting a little bit more of the Halloween vibe to sink in, but the coziness is definitely woven into this book really well. Like, I feel the small town vibes. It's giving a little bit of like a Gilmore Girls situation, not in terms of like the cast and the story itself, just like the small town feel that show has is being reflected in this. That feeling where everybody knows everybody and it's just like this close-knit community. I feel like there's quite a few people of interest in Trudy's murder, but I feel like the main one that's like being presented and that's like in our face currently is the owner of the rival food truck, which by the way is called Burger She Wrote. I love that name. I love a Murder, She Wrote reference. I'm here for that. But I feel like that's just a front. That's like way too obvious of a choice. So I'm not like falling for that right away. But it does make sense that the owner of the only other food truck in the town would get jealous of the other food truck owner because like everybody is fleeing to that new food truck and is really excited about this new place to eat. So it would make sense that that owner would be jealous and be wanting to like take out the other owner. So I feel like that is a distraction device, but I'm not falling for the distraction device. I just don't know who else could have done it yet. Maybe the husband, maybe Trudy's husband. I don't know. We'll see. I need more information. This book also incorporates recipes throughout it, which I think is really fun. I wish I could cook or bake because then I would like totally take on one of these recipes, but like I can do neither of those things. If you're a foodie, if you're somebody who's good at cooking or baking, I feel like this book would be really fun for you. It's got food recipes, but it also has like cocktail recipes, which is really fun. Definitely a nice little touch, even though I skimmed through the recipes because I'm like, I'm not going to be making this. I'm excited to keep reading. I'm excited to see what ends up happening. Without further ado, let's get back to reading. Boom. Reading update time, I finished Death of a Wicked Witch, and for the most part, I had a good time with it. I feel like I'm going to sound like a hater here for a little bit because I am feeling a little rantish about the ending and some of the reveals that happened because I was just a little bit let down by the reveals and who done it, who was behind the murder, because it was sort of one of those situations where it felt like it completely came out of left field. It really came out of nowhere, and all the seeds that are planted early on kind of end up feeling meaningless. Like there's nothing that is planted early on that could have you guessing who did it, who was behind it. And I feel like half the fun of these like cozy mysteries is trying to figure out who did it. So if there's no seeds that are being planted early on that are going to help us figure out who did it, then what's the point of all these other things? Like, I know that we're like throwing off the scent as to who's behind it. Like, that makes sense to me. But there's like nothing that could lend you like a small little hand in figuring out the mystery until we get to a big reveal. I'm not saying that the author needed to like put these huge hints out there. Like, little subtle hints could have done wonders. But there's like no hints up until the reveal. When we get this big reveal, it's like, oh, okay, well, I see what happened now. Like, it takes a complete turn and you know what's gonna happen. But then it just makes everything else in the book just feel so silly. Unless I just completely missed some like subtle plot points that were dropped early on, but like I really don't think that I did. I don't think I missed anything. Anyway, a big part of the mystery is that Trudy, who is dead, ends up being seen around town. And the reveal behind that honestly will have you going, duh. That part of it really wasn't shocking to me. I think that I wish this story would have been structured a little bit differently. I think it would have been nice to have kind of opened up with the murder and then had the sightings of Trudy come immediately after that, and then have the reveal of the sightings of Trudy come through, and then I think we could have had a really great story. I think that it would have been structured really nicely had it been done in that way, but obviously it wasn't done in that way. So I just felt overall like the story structure was a little bit silly to me. I think that there should have been more hints early on. Not saying I needed like a full-on foreshadowing moment. I just wish we would have had like subtle clues that would have clued us in, instead of just like having all these things that happened that in hindsight at the end of the book added nothing to the overall mystery. I know I'm probably being pretty harsh and that I need to just kind of like adjust myself to cozy mysteries and what they deliver, because I think this is pretty typical with cozy mysteries. I am only going off currently the first few stories that I read, obviously, and then Murder, She Wrote. I think that that's like the closest I can get to a cozy murder mystery situation. And like a lot of times the mysteries in Murder, She Wrote are just like so campy and so silly, and that's part of the charm, honestly. Which honestly, a lot of the reveals that I've seen so far in that show are so funny to me. The thing that kills me about Murder, She Wrote is that every time Jessica Fletcher, the main character, figures out who done it, she will just like approach them, confront them, and the person behind the crime will be like, yeah, I did it. Here's why I did it. Here's how I did it. And they just fully spill the beans without putting up a fight. And guess what? I love it. I eat it up. But I think that that like silliness and not so seriousness kind of adds to the coziness, adds to the charm of it. Now this one did end up being pretty suspenseful towards the end of it, and I loved that. There's a full circle moment that was really fun that comes into play with Haley's partner. Throughout the book, Haley is constantly catching her partner smoking, and she really doesn't like it. She wants him to quit. But it comes back into play in a really fun way towards the end of the book. Overall, though, I just had a really fun time with this book. Like, entertainment levels were through the roof. Like, I just had so much fun. I think that I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5 stars. I think that that's where I've landed with it. I had a good time with it, but at times it also just like frustrated me so much. So a 3-star rating feels like a pretty good middle ground. Let's talk about the next and final book for this vlog. The last book I'm going to be reading, I'm actually going to be audiobooking because they didn't have it at the library, but I really want to read it. But I was able to find the audiobook on their app, Hoopla. Gotta love a Hoopla moment. Hoopla and Libby. Name a more iconic duo? Ya can't. If your libraries don't have either systems, I'm sorry. Mine has both. I am very privileged. Final book that I'll be reading, though, is called Death by Jack-o'-lantern. In this book, we are following our main character, Abby, who at times just kind of overcommits herself to things. She, this year, is on the committee for the Halloween festival, and she's doing a lot of the preparations, and when she goes to get their pumpkin order for the festival, she finds somebody dead. So Abby finds herself wrapped up in this mystery and must figure out who is behind the killing of this person. In this one, we've got a Halloween festival, we've got a bit of a jack-o'-lantern situation, I'm not sure how that comes into play, and then we've also got a corn maze. So I feel like it's gonna bring on the Halloween vibes, which I'm very excited about, which I forgot to kind of talk about the Halloween vibe in Death of a Wicked Witch. I felt like it did an okay job of kind of bringing in a Halloween element, and I could have used like a little bit more. There is like dressing up involved, there's a Halloween party, and there's some like Halloween references, but I just wanted a little bit more. So I'm hoping that Death by Jack-o'-lantern brings in more Halloween vibes. Give me the Halloween vibes, please. Without further ado, let's get to reading. It feels really weird doing a reading update and not having the physical book to hold, so I'm just gonna be over here clutching Ghosty Boy, okay? I'm 3 hours and 50 minutes into the book, 56% of the book complete. And this one is so different compared to the last one I read, but I am loving the vibes. I am going to be comparing this one a lot to the last book I read, The Death of the Wicked Witch, because that was like the first cozy mystery I had technically ever read. Obviously, I read the short story collection, but I feel like in terms of a novel, The Death of the Wicked Witch is the only one that I have a solid example of. This one dives into things much faster than the last one did, and I really appreciate that. Not to say that I didn't like the fact that like the last book took its time to get to things. I think there's room at the table for both of those styles, but I just appreciated that stark difference. This one also feels much more intense. It definitely has moments of cozy, but I would say it's a little bit more on the intense side of things personally. Like, I feel like this eeriness in the air, like it just feels like an uncomfortable feeling is looming over the book, over the things that are happening in the book. And I think that that is kind of like smothering out the coziness. It just feels like the stakes are a little bit higher than this one. It does a good job of kind of giving you a brief recap of what happened in the last book. This is the second book in a series. The thing with cozy mystery is that you can read a series in whatever order that you want. You don't have to follow 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can read 5, you can read 7, you can read 1. You can read it in whatever order you want. I'm sure that if you read them back to back to back in order, that obviously you're probably going to get more out of it, but I feel like they're written in a way where you can just kind of pick up wherever you want to, and I really appreciate that about cozy mysteries in general, because I feel like for me, I just get daunted by series and long series, so it's nice that you can just approach a series like this and just kind of like pick up whatever book that you want. This mystery in particular feels very layered to me, which I really love. It feels like there are all these elements coming into play, and eventually they're going to merge in together, and I'm excited to see what that merge looks like. There are currently two things that are key players into the mystery. So the first thing is there is somebody who is going around the town carving people into pumpkins, like carving their faces, carving portraits into pumpkins. They're not like carving people and then putting them into the pumpkins. That sounded odd, but they are carving like the townspeople into these pumpkins and then leaving them on their porches at night, and nobody knows who it is. So that's part of the mystery. And then another part of the mystery is that our main character Abby, heads to this pumpkin farm to pick up a pumpkin order for this harvest festival that's happening, this Halloween festival. And when she gets to the pumpkin farm, she finds the farmer dead. So there's this mystery behind his death as well. Who's behind it? Who done it? We're gonna find out. Again, this one just feels much more dark and eerie. I would say that the characters themselves also have like a mysterious air to them, which I didn't really feel that way necessarily in the last one. The last one felt a lot more lighthearted than this one in terms of the tone, and I appreciate both styles of tone. Like, I really loved that kind of lightheartedness that the death of the Wicked Witch brought, and then I'm also enjoying kind of the eeriness that this one is bringing. This one also just feels a lot stronger in terms of the plot altogether, which I'm really appreciating. There's a lot of like nice banter and like funny dialogue moments, funny humorous dialogue moments that kind of give a little bit of a break from the seriousness that's happening. There is a bit of a romance budding, I would say. I think it is anyways. There's like part of me that's like, is this a romance or did they just trauma bond? Because the two characters that are potentially kind of growing together in a romantic form went through an experience in the first book where they found like a dead body. They were both trying to figure out the mystery together. I think that there's a romance between them. If there is a romance between them, it's just a slow burn situation, or they just have like amazing chemistry together and they should be together. I haven't fully gotten to the bottom of that, but they like definitely have like 30 moments where I'm like, what is this? Can we have a define the relationship conversation already? There's also a precious pup in this book called Zeke. Anytime there's like a dog or a puppy or a pet of any sort, to be honest, they're immediately my favorite character. I'm already sold on them. I am really enjoying this one. I'm excited to see where the mystery goes, because I feel like it's a situation where I don't really have any theories yet, which is pretty uncommon for me, because typically when I'm reading a book that has a mystery, I will come up with all these like crazy theories. Even the last book that I read, I had some weird theories going into that book. So I'm very interested to see where things develop in this book. I'm also really enjoying the audiobook. I feel like I'm really bad at like reviewing audiobooks, because for me, it's less about the performance of the audiobook and more about the story itself. Like, I'm not somebody who's like, oh, this audiobook has an annoying narrator. Like, I'm literally just like listening to the story. I don't know how to explain it, but like, it's never about the audiobook narrator for me. Like, I am focused in on the story and the story that they're telling me. Mind you, I have listened to audiobooks in the past where I'm like, this audiobook narrator is annoying. They have an annoying tone of voice, but it's never like thrown me off from like the story itself. So anyway, Overall, really enjoying it. I think I'm going to listen and color because I have this coloring book that I got last year that I never got around to doing anything with. I haven't colored any of the pages, and I got some new markers recently that I really want to try out, so I'm going to try them out on this coloring book. The coloring book in question is called A Million Little Monsters, and it's got all these little Halloween illustrations throughout it. I'm super excited about it. I think I'm going to do this one of this like bat creature reading a book while he sits on these other little creatures. I think that one would be fun. So let's get back to reading, let's get to coloring, let's do the thing. Reading update time. I finished the audiobook for Death by Jack-O-Lantern, and honestly, it was the best book I read or listened to in this reading vlog. Spoiler for the rankings at the end, but I just so enjoyed this one. I loved our main character, Abby. She's definitely somebody who is going through a lot of things, a lot of growth. She is coming out of a divorce, and she's kind of finding her own voice, finding her own footing, but she's very strong-willed. She doesn't let people kind of like walk all over her, and I loved seeing those moments. And also her willingness to help out people that she knows are being wrongfully accused was just like very admirable. Like the lengths that she went to protect those people and to fight for them. I just really loved and respected seeing that side of her character. I had a hard time picking up on whodunit, but it didn't feel like quite as out of left field as the last book did, which I really appreciated. It's still not something where I felt like I would have been able to like put two and two together or put clues together and figure out whodunit before the reveal. Maybe I'm just not very big brained, but I really enjoyed it. I really liked kind of the big reveal, and I myself was pretty shocked by the reveal, which I love. I love being shocked. And overall, I loved the pacing. I loved the Halloween vibes. I could have done with like a little bit more Halloween vibes, but it's okay. I know that we can't just have it be fully taking place in Halloween. The characters were great. The mystery was great. My only complaint is that it wasn't like overly cozy. I would have liked it to have been a little bit more cozy because to me it was much more like eerie, uncomfortable, and sort of like gloomy almost. Like that was kind of the vibe. And I was just kind of craving a little bit more of a warm, cozy vibe. I ended up landing on a 4-star rating, a 4 out of 5 stars. And I almost forgot, I colored a picture while listening to the audiobook. Let me show you guys what I came up with. There's still quite a few details that I need to go over, and I am a little bit rusty when it comes to coloring, so it's not my greatest work, but I had a fun time with it, and that's all that matters. I'm not a professional colorer, okay? I do want to go back and like maybe do some kind of background color. I just like wasn't sure what color to do. And I also don't think I should do markers on the background color because I'm afraid it'll bleed through. Though to be honest, it didn't really bleed through like I thought it was going to. So that's an A+ for me in my book. But this was really fun, and it made me realize that I need to like carve out more time for activities like this, like coloring and audiobooking, because it's such a fantastic pairing. Definitely going to be doing more of this in the near future. Now we've reached the point in the vlog where we do our book rankings. I feel like we all know where first place is, so let's just go over first place, Death by Jack-O-Lantern, 10 out of 10, or more like 4 out of 5 stars. That's where I've landed with this book. Then in second place, I'm going with Death of a Wicked Witch. This one was fantastic in terms of the overall cozy vibes. I just felt a little bit underwhelmed by the whodunit aspect. And then finally, in last place, we've got Halloween Cupcake Murder. This was a fun short story collection. It was nice reading stories from a bunch of different authors, and I would definitely be interested in reading more by each author included in this collection, to be honest. And with that, we have reached the end of this vlog, but before you go, I want to hear from you guys down below in the comments. Let me know if you have any cozy mystery recommendations for me. Bonus points if you've got a cozy mystery that involves some kind of like supernatural element in it. If you like this video, be sure to go and hit that like button. If you want to see more bookish content from me, be sure to go and hit subscribe or go and hit that bell icon, and you'll be notified every time I post new videos. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope your day is bright, that tomorrow is brighter. Keep reading what your heart desires desires, and I will see you soon with a new video. Bye, yo!